Hello everyone, this is Vishakha coming with next session of current affairs brought to you by acubeias, and we help you prepare for the civil services in a very simple and a unique way. So stay connected to us, and with that, let's move ahead. Next in the series is COVID-related news. In the COVID-related news is like they are I provide you the section which help you day-to-day activities, because this is something we all are in this together, and I hope all of you are coping well with this. So this is. First news is Dr. Fauci, as we knew, who's the chief medical advisor of the US, has said that people who are vaccinated, they should even wear masks, because you might be asymptomatic and you might be safe, but but you might be a carrier. So stay at home and wear mask as much as possible. And already in the last segment, I talk about how keep your indoor facilities ventilated as much as possible. That will help you stay protected in this testing times. Next is this ethics case studies. I would advise all of you to maintain a small notebook, if it is possible. In that small notebook, write down small good ethical case study in this time, because this is testing time, and whatever good has been happening right now is actually an example you can quote in ethics. That's during testing time, people like this came ahead and they did that, they did this. In the same series, there is Sadh Sangat Gurdwara, who became a helping hand for the patient. Anybody who was ill and was stuck at home and couldn't get the food for themselves, the Gurdwara was providing food to them at their door. Another yesterday there was news, and I'm telling that orally. In Kerala, a very popular cafe turned into hospital overnight to provide the facilities. So these are good case studies, and you can remember in one line, and can write it one line, and with that one line you can make with an example you can make a very good impact. Next is the Haryana Chief Minister Manohar. He said that any person from a BPL category, and if he get himself treated in a private hospital, the entire cost will be borne by the Haryana government, which is a step in good series, because the government hospital infrastructure are already overwhelmed, and people need to actually take the private hospital, need to go to the private hospital as well. And state government has already provided the financial assistance of nearly 3,500 to BPL family in the earlier session. Next is the political news. Moving ahead is this is interesting. The Mamta Banerjee, who's the current chief minister of West Bengal, is want to contest election from Bhawanipur. Now the interesting part is already elections has happened in West Bengal. Why is she contesting election? To answer that, because she lost election in West Bengal. So the second question arises: can a person who have lost the election be appointed as chief minister or minister per se? This is where the trick arises. Yes, a person who has lost election can be a minister, but only for 6 months. Now why? Because now you have to remember Article 164, because Article 164 says that a minister who for any period of 6 consecutive months is not a member of legislature of state shall cease to be a minister. That person cannot be a minister. So what are the options that are available with our current chief minister? Then the two options available with her is either she can conduct by-election. Now what are by-election? By-election are different from elections, because elections are regular, that happen once in 5 years, or if assembly is dissolved before that, then may happen earlier. By-elections are not regular election. They happen one constituency or 2 constituency or 7 constituency per se. If for any reason there is a vacancy, a person has died, or he has resigned, or any other reason, there is a vacancy in particular constituency and not the entire state or the nation per se. So those are by election. So she would want to stand from one constituency, and Bhawanipur is that one constituency. Second is the legislative council, that she can come from the legislative council, because remember, in our constitution, unlike in British parliamentary structure, where the person has to be from the lower house, Indian constitution does not provide any such kind of restriction. So person can come from the upper house as well. So legislative council is a second house, or the upper house in any state. West Bengal had upper house till 1969-79. I have actually told about this in the earlier session. So West Bengal also tried to do the same thing. It tried to form the Legislative Council. So these news are incontinent and were very important politically, because you learn political nuisance after this. Moving ahead in the series, the Supreme Court allowed initiating insolvency proceeding against promoter along with stressed corporate entities. Now here, two things are very important, that what law deal with the insolvency and what this news is trying to say. To understand this news and understand one thing, per se, I am some kind of investor and I want to invest I'm some kind of person who's starting a business. Now I want to take loan. Now my business idea is really good. Reliance, who actually like an angel investor, what they do is they're not providing me loan, but they act as my promoter. Now like SBI gives me loan, and they after some years my idea didn't show up and I failed. In that scenario where I am the one who has the corporate entity who have taken the loan, and promoter is Reliance who has backed my idea and actually helped me in the banking procedure. In that idea, Supreme Court says the both person are liable. That means me, a corporate entity, and the Reliance who acted as my promoter. So this was understanding the news, and second part is understanding the background, that is Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code. Now Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code is one that deals with this entire insolvency procedure. It deals with two things. It is the reorganization and insolvency resolution. That means two aspects. If there is a possibility that my business can be salvaged, then it will try to do so. But if it is being established that there is no point in continuing because it cannot be salvaged, then it has to be liquidated. So in IBC deals with both of them, and it came in 2016 to simplify the entire procedure, which was very cumbersome before coming to this. You cannot imagine the extent of laws that were existing and extent of delay which was present in our country. If you want me to make a detailed session out of it, leave a comment in the comment section, and I'll make an explanation video of this. But for now, let's move ahead. Now, IBC's infrastructure look like this. First is the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Board of India, which is the apex governance body, and it regulates the entire structure. It regulates insolvency professional, information utilities, and entities mentioned in the law. And it is so powerful that it has representative of RBI, Ministry of Finance, Corporate Affairs, and Law. Now, understanding what are insolvency professional. Insolvency professional are those who administer the entire insolvency or liquidation process. These are the ones who are professional in this particular sector. Second is information utilities. Information utilities are like information bank. They keep the entire data of borrower. So if you're going to take a loan, or if I'm insolvency professional who's speculating whether this company can be salvaged or not, then I'll be thinking about information utility will provide me the information about my financial health, that how well did I performed in the past and what are the possibilities that I can do. So information utilities are actually information bank in that sense. Next is debt recovery tribunal. So these are adjudicating authority in case of individual and partnership firms. Remember, debt recovery tribunals act as an adjudicating authority. That means in case the entire process a dispute arise, then who is the authority who will solve the dispute or actually make a judgment on the dispute? That is debt recovery tribunal in case of individual and partnership firm. But the same role is played by National Company Law Tribunal in case for companies and limited liabilities partner entities or partnership. So for individual and partnership, it is debt recovery tribunal, and for NCLT, it is and for companies and limited liability partnership, it is NCLT. Remember this because this is how questions are usually formed. Now, how much you understand, I'll ask a question about this, but let's understand the process first. That the entire process happens in 4 stages. First, either creditor or debtor, both can initiate a process of insolvency. SBI, I have given a credit. So SBI has given me a credit, and I was the one who had the business. So if I I realize after 6-7 years, okay, my idea is not making anything, and at least I liquidate the asset to get to gain the money and move with my life ahead and start with some other project which I think may work out. Then either I can initiate the insolvency process, or even SPI who think he has invested lots of money in me and business is not making any profit. So both can initiate. Second is the committee phase, where insolvency professional forms a committee of creditors. That means if it is not one bank but many banks gave me the loan, SBI, ICICI, and everybody believed in my big idea, oh, I'm going to make a lot of money, but it didn't. So now it's since everybody's money is at stake, so they will form the insolvency professional. What it will do, it will form the committee of the creditor, that now you decide what should be done with it. Is the idea viable or not? Now this has to be decided within some days, and now comes the decision phase, that whatever decisions committee want to take, it has to take in 180 days, and that's why the entire process is time-bound process. Remember, IBC is a time-bound process. This is 180 days for this, but this is 90 days for small industry, 180 days of corporate entities, and if industry is a startup or very small, it is 90 days. So it is smaller for the smaller industry time. Next is please do again confirm this, because this is what I remember. Next is insolvency. If in 180 days they're not able to provide a resolution or something like that, then it has to be after 180 days. In any case, it has to be liquidated. So an IP, that is IP, administer the entire process. So if you understand this with the timeline, then you understand the IBC altogether. Let's move ahead. Moving ahead is if you understand, you'll be able to give me some answers to this. Now consider this is how UPSC asks a question. Consider the following statement regarding IBC in 2060, which was in news recently. Now according to IBC insolvency, you have to consider three statements. According to IBC, insolvency is a time-bound process. Now think about this. I talked about this. Yes, it is a time-bound process because I said 180 days. Second, it says NCLT has jurisdiction over individual and partnership firm other than limited liability partnership. Okay, so it says NCLT has jurisdiction over individual and partnership firm, but what we read no, NCLT has jurisdiction over companies and limited liability partnership. It is DRT which has jurisdiction over the individual and partnership firms. So and then DRT statement is also wrong. So what we're realizing, it is an opposite statement. So 2 and 3 are wrong. The moment you cut 2, 2, 2, you're getting the answer A. So A is your answer. It is a time-bound process. So this is how solve the question. Read the news per se. Now moving ahead is some environment related news. Is that very well-known environmentalist and Gandhian Sundarlal Bahuguna died recently, and in that his legacy, what we are supposed to understand in here, that's something that you can use in environment and as well as ethics case study. So you can be as innovative as you want to. News like this it's like you have it, and whatever you want to do, you can easily work with it. But the news like this is often asked in your public service examination, that this personality was in news and what was it associated with. Especially if somebody is preparing for Uttarakhand Civil Services, must be knowing that Sundarlal Bahuguna is a very famous personality. Now, what was his legacy? He was the founder of Chipko, or the Hug the Tree movement in 1970s to save the Himalayan forest. So the Chipko movement, what was the Chipko movement? Chipko movement was basically uprising against the felling of the trees, where the women would hug the tree in order to prevent them. And it is considered as the first sign of the ecofeminism, one of the first sign of where the female came out to protect the environment, because they are a very integral part of the environment. Second is about Tehri Dam. Because the second news, his second his legacy was that he protested the construction of Tehri Dam, and for which he formed the Mahila Mandal. That is a group of women who was against the displacement that followed the Tehri Dam construction. Now we know Tehri Dam is already built right now, but Narmada Bachao Andolan, where construction against the Tehri Dam was also protested. Now you should know something about Tehri Dam. That Tehri Dam is the highest dam in India and 4th highest in the world. Because this is something you're supposed to know about public services. Because I'm sure if you're preparing for the UPSC, then you must have Public Service Commission in your mind as well. So do the questions like this are very often asked in the exam. So keep tab of it. Next is the government changed the FDI norms after raising FDI limit from 49 to 74. Now, just keep 2 to 3 things in mind. This news is important. First, For insurance sector, FDI has been raised from 49 to 74%. Earlier, there was certain sector which was not entirely open to the foreign investor because of the security or the social reason. Insurance is one of that sector because of social reason. If the foreign investor run away, and then entire infrastructure will collapse. And you should know only 20% of our citizens have health insurance, and less than like 5 to 6% of population have insurance. For that reason, a government is trying to ensure as much as possible it can. Now, what it has done is the new changes are as follows. Now, Indian promoters of insurance joint venture with foreign partner will no longer be able to nominate the majority of board member. Now, to understand that, let's note the second news as well, and then I'll explain you in detail. However, the majority of board member, key management persons need to be resident Indian, and as at least 1/3 top position, that is either chairman, MD or CEO, should be Indian. Now, this news might be confusing to you. It is, at one hand, it is saying that Indian promoters cannot no longer be able to nominate the majority of board members, but majority of the board members need to be Indians. Now, just understand the scenario. Imagine I'm Indian, and I have I had 51% stake in a company. Now I have 40% stake in a company, and a foreign promoter has 60% stake in a company. Now, earlier, despite I having 40% stake in a company, I need to have a 51% stake. I was not allowed. But case would have been, despite having 40% stake in a company, I would have been able to nominate more than 50% board members. I would have nominated. This is my right. Now, this was earlier, but now I have 40% stake. Now I cannot nominate majority of Indian stakeholder. Now the foreign company X has the right to nominate the majority of stakeholder in proportion to their shareholding. That is 60% members will be nominated by X company only. But the second statement says that majority of board member need to be Indian. That means even if that company will be nominating, the people it will be nominating would be Indians only. So the MD, CEO, one person at least should be Indian. So nomination will be by that person, and it will represent the interest of the foreign company, but the person will be Indian. So Indian in color, but foreign in interest. It is something like that. Indian in color and foreign in interest. This is what is going to happen in our insurance company. And government did that because now it is promoting British policy, but it wants the insurance penetration to increase in India. And the major hurdle in that the foreign players are not coming is that, per se, a company who's holding 60 to 70% stakes and does not have a shareholding. No, people don't usually prefer investing in a company like that. If I'm an investor, then I would want a stake as well. So in order to avoid that, government did it. Second is, this norm apply to all the insurers, but there are some laws which apply only to foreign investor whose stake increase 49%. So only when your stake is more than 49%, the second set of regulations are going to apply. This regulation is that at least 50% or more than 40% or more than 50%, equal to or more than 50% director shall be independent director unless chairperson is independent director. So if chairperson is independent director, then in that case, 1/3 of the directors should be independent director. Now understand, director is the one who takes the majority, major decisions regarding the company. Now what is independent director? What is director and independent director? Now director can be someone who has stakes in the company, who is shareholder, who has interest, but independent director is the first condition. He should not have shareholding more than 2 to 6%. He cannot hold the shares more than 2 to 6%, so he does not have a major interest, and that's why he's independent director. So he has knowledge of administration, he has knowledge of business and everything. But being an independent director, he's going to think on business line and not just for the selfish interest, or he will not show the financial health of the company in a bad light or misinform the public. That's why independent director is also needed. Next is Indian insurance companies. This entire regulations has come under the Indian Insurance Company Amendment Rules 2020. Okay, moving ahead, we transfer the surplus to the government, which has come as a big relief to the government because due to the lockdown and COVID, the government has a serious shortfall of the revenue right now, and in that case, this has come as some kind of salvaging revenue. Now, the surplus reflect the central bank. Now, from where the RBI is getting the surplus? The RBI is not a real bank in per se manner. RBI is the central bank. It has more regulatory and promotional roles than doing a business per se. So where it is earning money, it earns money by open market operations. That means it sells the government securities, G-Secs, T-bills. Some terms you might have heard recently, the government securities, government debts, it sells in the open market and it earns the commission out of it. It also manages the foreign exchange. So a dollar, like what you have heard is 79 rupees, $1. In that exchange, RBI earns some money. So RBI keeps that money, and this is how it generates a surplus. Now this it was in news recently because with the new rules and in lines with the Bimal Jalan committee, remember this is a Bimal Jalan committee. Bimal Jalan committee, it has to transfer the surplus, more surplus to the government. Earlier the RBI was keeping it with himself, but now it has to transfer more surplus to the government, and it has to maintain a contingency risk buffer of from 5 to 6.5%. So right now it is maintaining a 5.5%, and Bimal Jalan has asked it to maintain from 5.5 to 6.5. Now two things to understand in here is what is contingent risk buffer, and second is why has that happened, why RBI has to transfer the surplus to the government. Because economic survey in 2016-17 said that RBI is one of the most overcapitalized central bank of the world. Even the US has only 13%, but RBI has 27%. And economic survey says that RBI doesn't need it. That is the money that can be utilized in fact by the government. So there's a backlash against this because RBI is a bank which comes as a lender of the last resort, and it acts as a cushion against the risk that economy may face. But then Bimal Jalan committee says in such a case, a contingent risk buffer should be maintained, that in case of risk that buffer can help RBI. So for that reason 5.5% of that is being kept. Now moving ahead is the international relation. So some news, some certain things have changed. First is as you have known, it is a big relief that Israel and Hamas, there is a truce between Israel and Hamas which is mediated by Egypt, and even the US president has pledged to salvage the Gaza strips, and UN urging new Israel-Palestine dialogue. And next is NATO. The second news is very important, the NATO to fund the Kabul airport operations. NATO has said why it will fund, because the first is the US. It was in news recently that US, which was in Afghani territory for such a long period after 9/11, in order to eliminate the Taliban, now it is withdrawing. And the reason for withdrawal were many, because it was huge expenditure on part of the US Afghanistan. Many US soldiers had died, so it was financial loss, it was loss of the people, it was suffering backlash at the home. US people were not happy with this. There was a world pressure and they could not find the solution. So in that scenario, US wanted to withdraw from Afghanistan. But Afghanistan is a very war-torn country, where even the government isn't functioning very properly. There is a fight there's a political fight at the apex level, and then Afghani people are afraid of the terrorism. In that scenario, when US want to withdraw from the Afghanistan, it want to help train the Afghani people, Afghani special forces, for which it want to help Kabul run the airport and train, where it can airport and train Afghani special forces abroad. So with that airport, it will take people and it will train them abroad and leave them Afghanistan to fight the terrorists. Now there is a very question PSIR students should will be preparing that in detail, and but let's move ahead with the PT part. Now you're supposed to know about NATO in here. That what is NATO? NATO is North Atlantic Treaty Organization. It is a military alliance. Remember, it is a military alliance established by the North Atlantic Treaty, or the Washington Treaty of the 1949, by US, Canada, and several Western European countries. How many? There are 29 member states, with the Montenegro being the latest. 29 member states, with the Montenegro being the latest. Remember, and it is established by the Washington Treaty. And Article 5 states that if one member of the alliance is attacked in Europe or North America, it will be considered as attack on the all member states. So they collectively try to safeguard the security of all the people. Now, also remember, Article 5 was used only once so far in the history. It was in 2001 after 9/11 attack, and NATO has resisted from using this article. Why I'm telling you this, UPSC is very smart to ask you this question. Earlier, what was happened, a very extreme statement was eliminated, but now UPSC is smart. It is actually giving extreme statement that they might be true as well. Taking this question is, which of the following statement is not true about the NATO, which was in news recently? Then is first, NATO is a military alliance established in 1947. Second, it is established by Washington Treaty. Now you know it is established by Washington Treaty, so B is right. Now D says that it has 29 member states. You remember this as well. C state that if one member of alliance is attacked in Europe, then it is considered as attack Europe or North America. It is considered as attack on all members. Now this is considered as a very extreme statement, but it is true. A moment you know that, you're left with A. But NATO is a military alliance. And what is wrong in here? It was established in 1949, not in 1947. And once you remember this statement, you know that yes, you can actually make a right judgment. We are done with today's current affairs. Thank you so much for staying with me. Now stay at home, stay healthy, stay safe, and stay connected to acubeias, because we not only help you prepare for the pre, for mains, for UPSC or the Public Service Commission, we help you prepare in a very exam-oriented way. So stay connected to us. We'll help you get through this journey in a very easy way.